All right, well, good morning, everyone. I think everyone may know each other. Do we need to do introductions? Lisa, do you want to do that, or do we all know each other here?
I think, Ryan, do you want us to do introductions, or do you feel you know everybody who's on the call? I'm happy to.
4 months in, I think I'm getting a pretty good feel of who everyone is. So
All right.
All right.
I think I'll be okay.
Awesome.
Good to go then. So I'll just say good morning, everyone. We've had some pretty good progress. It's been slow and equal. So I'm very happy about that. And Beth, is there anything you want to share before we get started?
So just good morning, everybody. Happy August. I can't believe it's August. And just, I feel like we have momentum. The train is on the tracks and the engine is running and we're ready to go.
All right. So I don't know if everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our June meeting, but if you could take a moment just to take a look at those, and then we will ask for approval of the minutes.
I move we approve them.
Who is that?
That's Lisa. Lisa moves we approve them.
Now, I don't think you can do that, Lisa.
I'm not a member of the committee.
You are a member of the committee, but that I don't know. Let's have someone
All
else.
right. Somebody else approve them. I'll just be like silent over here. Sorry, but I can.
No, I don't want you to be silent, but I'm not sure officially if you can, we need to get clarification on that. Generally.
You're right. Let somebody else do it. It's no big deal.
Okay.
I'll do it. I'll move that we, for approval of the minutes.
All right, it's been moved by Karen and seconded by Ellen. Any questions or comments, revisions to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Kier, do you want to kick us off with the discussion around SharePoint and where we want to go next with making sure that everyone's coordinated on our work group activities?
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so one of the biggest things or one of the biggest components of moving forward with the work groups, of course, will be collaboration. So between the 3 work groups, what I've done is I've sort of built out our SharePoint site. And if everyone remembers way back when we first began, we created SharePoint to kind of be the central hub of everything Workforce Advisory Council related. So everything that we've ever done since inception is and will be housed there moving forward. So what I've also done to continue using SharePoint is I've built it out so that each work group, now that they've all been established, and quick side note, every agency so far has at least 1 representative in each work group. So, and they're evenly distributed. So we're in great shape to get started and moving forward those work groups. So thank you, everyone, for identifying key staff. So a few weeks ago, I sent out information on how to both access SharePoint and also your individual agency's login. And another quick side note, each agency that is represented on the council has their own individual login, username and password. I've sent that to every agency along with their key staff who was identified for each work group with detailed instructions with a step-by-step process on how to access it. I'm going to walk through just for this, how to access that and also answer any questions. And then also just to show everyone what it looks like. So does anyone have any questions about any of that? I know that there were some challenges or some issues with getting access to their username and password. Did everyone get that information okay? Okay, great.
You can always ask for a thumbs up if you want to see it, see that everybody did it.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen really fast. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to access SharePoint. Can everyone see my screen okay? Thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm actually in a private browser. And the reason why for this is because, and some of you who have used SharePoint, specifically these accounts will notice if you log into SharePoint or to the account that I have sent you via Microsoft Outlook, and your agency also uses Microsoft Outlook, it will log you out of your other email. So a little hack to get around that is to open up a private browser so that you can have both your email up and also the email that is tied to your SharePoint access. So I'm going to, the first step is you're going to open up the portal. Ooh, I can spell portal right. And it's portal.office.com. And I'm going to sign in as Impact. But I'm missing my. So I have different access than everyone else. So I'm going to log in as you would see it. Or actually, I'll log in as St. Stephen's. That's what I'm doing.
You're just picking one of these.
Yeah.
Now we're Ellen.
Yeah. So this is basically
Yeah.
missing the D.
Oh, yeah.
So this is how you will log in. Every agency it's their agency at wdbco.org. That's the way that we had to do it so that you could be into our network and then also get a Microsoft Power BI license so that we can so that everyone can view any sort of analytics or anything that I do around Power BI. So that's part of the reason why we had to set them up this way. Just a side note. So Godman Guild, and then I'll use Godman Guild's password.
Which we're not telling anybody.
Right.
Ellen. She's making face. I just want to make sure she knows.
No, I'll stay signed in. So once you get into Microsoft Power BI, or sorry, into Outlook or your portal, you'll see everything that has been recently updated or things that you've accessed, et cetera. If you've used Outlook before, this probably looks super familiar. So then the next step, there's an icon down here, SharePoint. You can also access it up here in your apps. So I'll go ahead and go to SharePoint. Before I got these all set up, I followed all of these accounts to the Workforce Advisory Council. So they should pop up right here under followings for easy access. And then everything else that happens in any other sort of site that you create or page, any changes, specifically news, will just pop up here. And these are old articles that I put in when I was intern. So I'll go ahead and access the Workforce Advisory Council's page. And this is the home page or the landing page of the council. So this is sort of where you will begin to navigate and access the site. Any questions from how I got to where I am now? Okay, great. So just a few things I want to show and go over. First of all, of course, again, this is the landing page. And then on the top here in this navigation ribbon, everything that we have done around different providers that provide youth employment, adult employment services, every partner has their own individual page where we will begin to put in, this will partially be a part of the work group 1, but around to start to do some asset mapping, we're going to start taking inventory of retake an inventory of all of the services, programs, supportive services, et cetera, of every agency, and they will all be housed on everyone's individual site. And I'll go ahead and access one of them. I'll just look at impacts. So Impact has their own individual page. This is information that I have found on Impact's websites, including their homepage, how to get assistance, events, etc. Some of their contact information. I don't know what went wrong here, so I don't remember what that was. I think it's actually supposed to be their documents. And then you have the ability to add events and things like that. So because I'm logged in as Ellen, I can't edit this page. I've created specific permissions around everyone's individual accounts. So Ellen can only edit Godman Guild's page. She can't edit Impact's page. So as we start to build this out even more, and I'll do a sort of, maybe I should go to our Godman Guild's page really quick. I'm not sure. Oh, they don't have one yet. Yes, they do. I lied. So this is Godman Guild's page. So you'll see on this page, this is what Ellen will be able to edit. And your edit button is missing for some reason, but typically there's a button up here that will allow Ellen to edit Godman Guild's page so that she can add in specific documents that are specifically related to supportive services or anything Godman Guild related. And again, everyone does have one. There's a few different ways to access these pages. If you're also just wanting to test stuff but not mess up your page, I've also created a test site where you can go and just edit this to see what it might look like on your page.
That's a great
Yeah, just so, and then I don't know why your edit button is missing, Ellen, so I can't show how to, anyway, when you click the button to edit this page, you can add in specific elements to the page. I'll go through this with each work group and each partner if they have questions, but for some reason it's not showing up. But I just want to say, when you do edit your individual pages, it is critical that that you republish it or it won't save. So any changes that you make to these sites, if you don't republish them, they don't save. Okay, so I'll go another key area of all the work that we will do. Everything that we have ever done for WAC will be housed in this documents tab here. So that will be specifically this folder, the Workforce Advisory Council. That has any particular data set. This is actually empty. We don't have any data in there now, but any important literature or things that you might deem important to read, specifically documents like the poverty blueprint is in here from the county commissioners, the document that Karen sent me around no wrong door access, some research. There's a lot of different things in this folder. Any kind of meeting minutes we've ever done, the progress report that I created through a Power BI report. This tab or this folder here is important if you have any questions about how to access or how you can edit your information in SharePoint. There's a whole webinar in there. So for your staffs who may be, I know that you all may not be working in here as much as your staffs and our work groups. So if they have questions about how to access and how to use SharePoint, there's a whole webinar in here that I recorded for people to use. That will actually show you how to edit your homepage, your individual's agency's page, and also how to add elements and things in there. So it's really helpful. Any kind of agendas we've ever had, and then information folders for each work group. And then lastly, our strategic plan. So, and then again, outside of here is all of these folders are just every agency's where they can start, a repository of folders where you can start to put your own agency's information so that we can start gathering data and information on our services. And I think that's information on supportive services. And I think that might be it for now. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the home page. So again, this is just every time you log in, it'll bring you to this page. On right here is our strategic plan. So you can immediately start looking at this if you want and going through the strategic plan. It's right on the home page. It's embedded in the site. the progress report, the wrongly named stakeholder analysis. This isn't quite a stakeholder analysis. Thank you, Lisa. Or thank you, John Glenn School. But the progress report that we created around who we serve in the community, different services, et cetera, our first attempt at some asset mapping. This is just a little map just to kind of show where everyone's located. This probably needs to be updated. And then events, what should
now
actually be here?
now we're all located everywhere. So
Yeah.
in our new virtual world.
Yeah.
So we just totally blew up that map.
And impact, I don't even see your thingy. But impact is also moved. So this, and I think maybe some other folks, so this just, it needs to be updated. I haven't in a while because we haven't been in here as much, but I used to put in just some news articles that were relevant to the work that we do or to Columbus. I'll begin to do that again. And then just upcoming events. I'll start to put every meeting between the work groups, between the council, right here so that we can all access that. And then the last thing I will show is just the work group sites. So each work group has their own work group page where where everyone who works within those work groups will start to put information that is relevant to the work that they are doing. So I'll go ahead and just click on work group 1. So this is, again, information that is specific to each work group are here in this documents folder. Information regarding the actual strategy or I guess goal that that work group 1 is working on. And then this is actually this. So it'll show you which activities and which strategies specifically work group 1 is working on. And it's about 3 slides that just shows what all that information is. And this is unique to each work group. I think that might be it for that, yeah. Again, we can build these out even more. So as you are thinking about important information that might be relevant to your work group, we can adjust this. So similar to the first work group, these are the strategy that is specific to work group 2, and then its corresponding activities. And then lastly, work group 3 is similar to the other 2. I don't know why that's there. And then the strategies and activities that correspond to the work that work group 3 is doing. And they just have 1 slide. So that is pretty much it. There's a lot of information that in the back end that goes into creating this SharePoint that is not super relevant to you all, but as you are working in these work groups and you're finding things that you want to add, documents that you want to add, please let me know if you have questions. Again, that webinar or the tutorial, if you will, is very helpful in showing you how to navigate, how to add documents, how to manipulate your page to fit, what you're working on. So just please let me know if you have any questions, but that's essentially it with SharePoint. Is there any questions about this? Thoughts, feelings?
Here, you shared that if we don't publish, it won't save our changes. And I didn't see, so like if I were in my work group 3 and I did something, I didn't see a publish button. Can you show where that is, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna just because I think the permissions may be off. So I'm gonna have to fix that. So what I'm gonna do really fast is log into mine and I'll show you what it looks like.
Thank you.
This will look the same. I can publish any website or edit any site. So I'll use mine. I have also different permissions than everyone else, so mine might look a little different. I also have the ability, of course, to manipulate the entire SharePoint site. So mine looks a little different. So if I go to Beth's, so similar to Beth, if you were to work on your page, I'll go to yours. Maybe. Oh, I don't know if I have one for I don't have one for Columbus Work, so.
It's
I'll have
over there
to-
on to the right. Go down.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry. Okay, so when you access your individual site, Beth, if you were to be logged into to your account, this is what you would see. You would see this edit, this edit. So this would allow you to edit your site. So this is what it would open up the editor, and you'd be able to add in different elements. And this is what I'm talking about, this republish here. So if you make an edit to this,
I see
you
it
know,
now. Thank you.
you wouldn't be able, if you don't publish it, the changes won't be saved. So, yeah, good question. Any other questions on this?
Hi, Kier. This is Nicole with Kier. I wanted to let you know Jesse and I are having issues on our end accessing it due to our firewalls. So we're working with our security team to see if we can get permission to access the site. So we have not been in it yet, and we want to make sure you were aware of that.
Okay,
Ah.
are you using the account that I sent you and that's where you're having issues?
Yes, that's where we're having issues. They do
Okay.
not allow us to go through web-based emails. So that's the problem, is the Outlook Live,
okay.
getting into that. So they're trying to see if they can make special considerations for us because it is work-related for us to gain access. So I had a conversation yesterday with someone from our IT security team. He's supposed to
Okay.
get back with me no later than next week, but I did want to let you know that we just have not been able to access it.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. I didn't even consider that might be an issue with some folks. So I guess as you find out additional information, just let me know and I can help maybe run some interface or something. Thank you. Of
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
course. Any other questions on the site, or actually problems or challenges? Okay, great.
Kier, just one quick question. You mentioned that you've created a training video in the
Yeah.
SharePoint folder. Can you just send us an email that has a link to that? Or let me just make sure I'm clear about the pathway, because I want to, there's a few of my staff members that I want to make sure that they go through and are feel competent in navigating this website so that we can be much more active.
Of course. So this is the pathway, but I will try sometimes when I share links to an external, user, sometimes like Impact, if you clicked on the link, it would try to go in as Bo Chilton at Impact. So I'll see if the link will work, and if it does, I'll go ahead and send that over, or I'll find some other way for us to access it outside of this.
Okay, well, if you just tell me the pathway, so when we just, can you just walk me through that real quick so I can direct them to get there?
Yeah. So if you click on documents,
The documents.
and then I can also put this in email and as follow up. But if you click on documents, and then click on the Workforce Advisory Council folder,
Okay.
and then click on SharePoint Help.
Okay.
And then the video, as well as an outline for, if you don't want to watch the video, this outline will also be helpful.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? Again, as you're working on this, similar to the access that I have, you all will have access. So as work group, you find helpful documents or, take notes on something and you want to upload those, you can upload those directly into your respective folders. But if no one has any other questions, that's SharePoint. Please let me know if you're having any questions, concerns, or issues with the site, and I'll try to handle those for you. So thank you, everyone.
Here, I do have one more question. So,
Sure.
I just asked my colleagues if they had received their sign-in emails from you, and they had, and I'm just curious, do we all in one organization? So for instance, the colleagues that I'm working with here at Columbus Works who are on a work team, do we all have the same username but different passwords, or is each individual have a unique, because I think mine is, is it, for instance, Columbus Works at wbdco.org. Are we all sharing that, but we have different passwords?
No, so that's a good question. You all will have the same login information, and I did test this at a later time before this to see if multiple people could be in there at once, and you can. The problem just becomes is if someone is in there editing the site and they don't republish it, the person who was trying to see the changes won't see them. So that's why it's really important that if you are making edits, that you make sure you publish it, or the other people who are in there at the same time as you.
So some Microsoft little people pop up. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Good question. Okay, Bo, that is it for me in SharePoint. I'm gonna follow up. I know we're about to talk about work groups, but a key part of the first initial work group meeting is I'll actually do a step even further dive for each of the work groups for their first initial meeting for the first 20 or so minutes to talk about this with everyone's staffs as well, so they're comfortable with using the site. And then the second half of that meeting will be business, but we'll talk about that in the next action item. So back to you, Beth or Bo.
All righty, thank you. So we had a good meeting with our co-chairs to start kind of mapping out and framing next steps for the work groups. And the cadence we want to have is where the work groups are meeting and, doing all of the planning and activities. And then we have enough time to be able to report out at these meetings, the work activity, as well as for me to be able to report out to the governing board. So part of what we need to do to make sure that we have a good cadence and rhythm is we need to establish standing meetings of the work groups. And we need to do them in such a way where they are sequenced such that we can do the report out in the meetings that we're going to need to do that. So not sure how you want to proceed, but I think I'd like to start first with making sure we're clear, Lisa, on when the board meetings are taking place for the remainder of this year.
Yeah, sure. So, generally the cadence of the board meetings are every other month on the last Wednesday of that month. So our next meeting is September 26th, whatever that last Wednesday is. November, of course, would be different because of Thanksgiving. I think our board meeting is November, is it 17th?
17th.
Yeah. Then after that, it would be, the last Wednesday of January, the last Wednesday of March, the last Wednesday of May. Okay. Generally, our board committee meetings then are during those months in between. So like February, right? April, June, August. And so you can either meet that same cadence if you want. It just depends on how you want to set it up, but that's how it works. And
so you say,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So what you do on the off months, that's when you have the board committees meeting?
Yes. Yeah.
Got you.
So it's up to you. Executive committee is usually the Wednesday, the middle Wednesday, 2 weeks before the board meeting, Bo. And I believe Eric and I are trying to figure out, we have that weird thing about who's in control of the executive committee between the mayor's appointments and the county's appointments. So So if you're a joint appointment, which I think you are, the governance committee is going to go ahead and meet to start looking at putting the WAC into our bylaws and trying to get the chair, whoever the board chair is for this, onto the executive committee. So we'll be looking at that here in the next couple months. So I say all that because typically all the committees meet before that executive committee meeting so they can report out, to the executive committee and then to the board 2 weeks later. So.
Boy, I'm going to need some help with getting all of these meetings sequenced properly.
Yeah, that's Jennifer's life. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just sent you all the template that shows the moving forward this year's meetings for all the committees, as well as the council and the full board meetings.
Yeah. So in theory, if we are trying to meet, that specific cadence, the earlier of each month, because I think the idea is that the work groups will meet every month. The earlier in the month, the better, to get to meet to both meet before the board meeting, but then so the internal committee, i.e. the co-chairs, can all meet to discuss, and then the end for the board meeting.
So if I'm not mistaken, we sort of calculated that would mean the work groups need to meet the first or the second week at the latest of each month.
Yeah, in theory.
Well, so I think we should just say that should be how it is. And that way we won't have to, it won't put Bo or Lisa or anyone on those teams in a sort of a crisis mode to get information, because the work groups have to do the work, do the work and input the information to SharePoint to get us ready for the strategy steering team to review it. So, and then working back, making sure then the WAC has time to review it, and then making sure that Bo needs what he needs has what he needs for the board meetings.
Yeah, so I remember us having this discussion, and I have so many meetings that are running together. I'm forgetting some of the details, so thank you, Beth, for reminding us of that. So we established that we really need to try and have our work group meetings the first week of the month.
Second week at the latest. I'm thinking about some months, the first is on a Thursday, that kind of, so.
Okay, so first or second week of the month. We'll ask.
And Bo, I'm sure you are certainly for you to pull as you have time to get ready, and then the steering committee team. So Karen, Ellen, those and I that are leading these three pillars. We can make sure the work groups are getting the information up there. It's ready for you to review, and you can just pull it as you have time to get ready for that meeting, and then also the WAC meeting. And Lisa can always access and look here, can keep us on track here. You're the engineer. You are this train has two engines, one at the front and one in the back, and here you are at the front. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we talked about just broadly, and we'll leave this scheduling to each of the committees to find what works for the members. But we're trying to schedule the work groups the first or second week of the month. And then we have our board meetings the last Wednesday every other month, counting from September. It looks like September 29th is the last Wednesday.
Yes, whatever that last Wednesday.
Yep, September 29th.
She got the 6 and the 9.
Yep. Got you. And then when do we have we established all of our workforce advisory committee meetings?
Do you mean the Workforce Advisory Council meetings?
Yeah, council meetings, these
Yeah.
meetings.
They're all set for the rest of the year.
Tell me those again, because I think I may have a standing conflict.
Well, then we want to change that.
Sure, let me pull that up real quick.
Is it the first Thursday of every month?
Yeah, it is. It's the first Thursday of every other month. So the next
Every other month.
Always
one,
even months,
yeah, on the even months. So the next board or the next council meeting would be
October 7th.
October 7th.
Okay, okay. Okay, October 7th, I can do that. Okay, so our WAC meetings are on the off months of the board meetings. That's great. And the next one is October 7th. And the next board meeting is September. So we'll be reporting out at the September board meeting, the activity that takes place today. Okay. Perfect.
And I will help work with the chairs to get those meetings set moving forward, because I think what we're going to try to do for each of the committees is just have a standing meeting every month, so it doesn't change or fluctuate. We'll just set that for the rest of the year so that it's on people's calendars.
Okay. This is going to be interesting. There's going to be a lag between when our work groups are meeting and reporting out at the WAC meetings and then reporting out at the governing board. Okay,
Well, Bo, let me just tell you something. So I've had a conversation with executive committee, and I'm going to start providing to all of you, go back to providing a more regular update. So if it doesn't match perfectly, that's okay. I mean, you can report on what you can report on, but also I have the ability to start highlighting that stuff every other week. So I'm going to start doing something every other week so people know what's going on. Because so much is going on, and I want them to be well aware of what's going on with WAC. So, because I've been talking you up everywhere.
Yeah, good. Okay, great. Then we'll get that schedule. We'll get a little more kind of guidance on to our chairs on kind of what we need to shoot for. But we have a general idea. The other piece, when we looked, do we have clarity on the roster right now of who's signed up?
Yeah.
And great participation, I think, from each organization. If there are others who can join, we'd love that. But the one thing that we saw is that we want to make sure that the committees are diversified with members from each of the organization. What we saw is that a lot of our staff signed up for the committees in which, one of us may be chairing. And so we want them to kind of break out and get involved in some of the other committees. So I don't know, have we addressed that yet? Karen and Ellen and Beth?
Yeah, we spread out ours, a couple of ours to other groups.
Okay.
Yeah, so now we are pretty evenly distributed between each of the work groups. It looks like each work group, actually number 3, which had the least, now has the most. So it's about in between 8 and 9 per work group with every agency represented.
Good job, Beth.
Just so I can see everybody who is here.
Yeah.
She went from the
I just
fewest
wanna
to the
share-
most.
Our Wi-Fi just crashed. So did I win something?
We
So
just assigned you everything.
your committee went from having the fewest members to the most, and I add that to your selling skills. All right. I did have a couple quick questions. I know that there were some conversations and some opportunities that have come up that we think might potentially strengthen the work of the WAC Council. Can we speak on that at all? I know there's been some conversations with Columbus State Community College and some things we might be able to do with them. Karen also shared, I think, a great opportunity for us to consider applying to support the work that we're doing. Lisa, do you have any updates on kind of the conversations with Columbus State and how it may tie into the work that we're trying to do?
So let me just talk about these accelerated training centers. And I don't know, Ryan, did you have a conversation with Dave as well, Harrison?
I did. Yeah, I did in the context of we received a joint grant or in the last state capital budget. Columbus State and Goodwill received a grant to build out a workforce center down in the Reynoldsburg area.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think they might end up, so that's a little different, I think, because I don't think they're putting an ATC there. So, the
Lisa,
yes.
we've talked with them about the accelerated training centers.
Oh, that's right. She told me that.
And actually, Ryan, Cheryl Hay mentioned that that they were meeting with somebody from Goodwill too. I don't know if it's happened yet, but we're also with them on a capital grant, so it was kind of overlapping. But we also talked with them about the accelerated training centers.
So here's what the accelerated training centers are. Columbus State has received a whole lot of funds, as you can imagine, through all the pandemic. And what they want to do is they want to set up a center in neighborhoods. So let's take Linden as an example. Finding a place in Linden, they would set up a center. That center would offer short-term credentials for free. So let's say they were going to offer, I don't even give me a short-term credential. I'll just pick one, like STNA. So people could register and attend. They would be at, in the evenings or different parts of the day. So people would be able to attend, but they'd be able to attend them for free to access that credential. One of the things I had suggested to Columbus State was working with the Workforce Advisory Council. And Dave did say this out loud at the governor's workforce board that, essentially all of the members here would help to source people and support them through getting those credentials. Now, I'll be honest with you, I suggested that that Columbus State consider also paying different organizations for the people they might support through. I don't know the status of that or how that's going to work. The last thing Cheryl Hayes said is somehow making the job center the center. But you know what? That doesn't make sense when all of you may be in these neighborhoods. So that's all I know. We haven't had further conversation in the last 3 weeks, but maybe Karen, you know something more than that. You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm pulling up my notes right now. They are, I'm looking for the kinds of training. It's manufacturing. I'm trying to see I'm not seeing what the trainings are, but it's manufacturing, customer service. I'm not remembering what else, but part of it is they'll have these short-term industry recognized credentials that the idea is this will get people into first jobs. And then ideally they may build it out later for kind of higher level positions. But the other thing that they're doing is working with some community members for kind of on-ramps to get people to the point where they can get into the training. So that would be providing, like we're talking with them about doing some ESL related to the training. Let me remember what it was. ESL, some computer literacy skills, and potentially some case management to help people get into and through the training. And then they're also part of, in addition to the credentialed training, they're going to be doing some job readiness training. And there was a meeting about that yesterday with some of the partners. Ryan, I think somebody from Goodwill was at that. I haven't been briefed yet on what happened with it. But so they are wanting to work with community partners, and for the initial training, they're working with Dawson and maybe another training partner. They wanted to very quickly get in with somebody who's already doing some of these kinds of training, and they're hoping to start it up as soon as September.
That's right. I forgot about the Dawson piece, which I found to be kind of interesting.
That the way Cheryl put it was they needed to ramp up really quickly, and Dawson had the facilities. I think they even put a little money into putting equipment into some of the facilities so they could do some of the training that they want to accomplish. Because some of this is, manufacturing training. It's like forklift certifications and things like that that require some space and equipment that most of us don't have.
Right. So I will reach back out here too to Cheryl because she had said she wanted to get together anyways and find out more about where this is going. And again, as people are approaching me for these things, I'm saying, look at the council as a group. And what can we do as a group? Not that makes sense for any one of us to one-off it. It absolutely does. But if it makes sense for us to do things all together, then, I want to try to push for that.
Yeah, I think she's trying to ramp up really quickly, kind of as a pilot, and then expand it from there. So that may be the way she's thinking about it.
So I know it's clear as mud still, I would say.
They're really trying to, figure it out and move it very, very quickly. So I think it's evolving, very much evolving in real time.
Yeah, and that's unusual. I mean, that's hard for Columbus State. So.
Yeah, but it does seem like it would be a really good opportunity for community-based partners, for the members of this group.
Yeah. I mean, this is right up our base. I mean, these are the people that we're serving. We have the ability to walk with them and support them, through. We're all connected. If we need to WIOA enroll people so that we have money to support them, we can do that. So more to come, I guess, Bo. I'll really push for Cheryl just to see where it is on a more broad scale. So
Excellent.
Does anybody have any questions or?
Should we be thinking about adding Columbus State to this council?
My thought was not to add training providers because they are not the only training provider. And if we start doing that, who else are we going to add? I mean, we still need to probably add community partners. That's my suggestion, but I'll go by what you all think. Part of it is, Columbus State isn't always the right partner for some of the initiatives we may all do together. And so that's why originally I didn't include them. But what do other people think? I mean, I could be totally wrong and I accept that. I'm not the smartest person in this virtual room.
Well, I think, didn't we talk about various layers of partnership?
Concentric circles.
Yeah.
So I think definitely they're in one of those circles.
Yeah, it may make sense to invite Cheryl or somebody else who's involved in this to our next meeting to talk about this initiative, and just so they're familiar with what the Workforce Advisory Council is and what our goals are, and that may make them more likely to bring opportunities to us.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, so in some regard, this specific opportunity, as well as a few other things that the council is being exposed to, this specific initiative could be an agenda item or an action item within either work group 1 or 2. So we could really charge one of the work groups to explore this further. Maybe even, I think this might even fit perfectly with one, but so does the Good Jobs Challenge, or that, I think that we're going to talk about too. So,
Yeah.
And I would just share, if we're going to look at Columbus State, we should look at Columbus City Schools adult education as well, because they are doing offering multiple tracks to credential resulting training that often also results in a high school diploma simultaneously. So they're in our Franklinton headquarters doing computer training that results in a credential, and we just did a pilot. We're extending it, and we're in multiple neighborhoods, and we will be extending that into those neighborhoods. So they do.
Oh, you froze, Beth.
They do construction certification training. I wouldn't want to leave Ed, O'Reilly, and Peggy out. If we're going to go to providers.
Well, then, I would suggest, you're right. And I would suggest we also then need to reach out to Eastland, Fairfield, and to Tolles, to Southwest City Schools, who also all do really good adult training too. So maybe that's something we need to think about is one of those concentric circles who are not every training provider that's out there, right? But maybe some of our big, more public ones. And then there's training providers sitting here. I mean, Ryan's group is doing A+ CompTIA network, that kind of training.
Yeah, and Lisa, that was the one thing I was going to say when you kind of said differentiating between a training provider and a community provider. I kind of looked at at ourselves. I'm like, well, wait a sec. I think we kind of would consider ourselves a training provider too. So I would be supportive of, exploring ways that we can strengthen those ties and those relationships.
Agreed.
Yeah.
To visualize that, we might think differently than just concentric circles, but think about, as an example, what the circle of influence looks like. So if we look at our neighbors and they're in the middle, human services types of providers next, workforce providers that also provide human services types like ESL, multiple things. And then the next layer out would be those more public adult focused credential resulting training providers. So, Tolles has just added a great manufacturing machine maintenance program. So, they might be in that third circle out, and the connection would be through organizations such as, those of us here today. So,
and I don't know if many of you know that Pegeen Clary Potts is now, she's actually at Tolles. She resigned from the Columbus City Schools and went to Tolles. So, you're right. You're exactly right. I mean, we do need to, and they can. Well, the other thing is, the good thing about Columbus State is they have a really great grant writing group. And I think that'll come up here in just a second.
Excellent. Thank you. I think that we definitely see the benefit of starting to really think about membership. If there are others that we need to add to this council, as well as the concentric circles that we talked about, whether they're part of the inner working group on a month-to-month basis. Obviously, we don't want it to get too unwieldy, but we have talked about with the concentric circle and those who touch, maybe inviting them in semi-annually or by quarterly. We can figure out the rhythm of that, but definitely see the benefit, because had Cheryl Hay known more about the work that we were already doing, she wouldn't have to rush and just go with the people that she knows. She would have a better understanding of what we're doing globally, and do a better, I think, with plug and play when you got to ramp up quickly. So definitely see the benefit of that. So that does lead us into the next conversation about continuing to explore opportunities where we can strengthen our collective impact model. And I know that there's a Good Jobs Challenge that Karen forwarded to us, and we've done some research on, at least preliminarily. Karen, is there anything that you want to say about that? And then to our team, what we've learned? Yeah, Ryan, you need to
Go
say.
ahead, Ryan.
Like I said, I just put some in the chat. I know Lisa's not gonna like this, but I do have to jump. Sorry.
That's okay. We're
Thanks
glad
for-
to have you while we can.
Thanks
Yes.
for thank you for the 22 calendar. I will make sure I do a better job of scheduling going forward.
Thanks, Ryan.
Sorry. See ya.
All right.
I have to admit, I was not ready to, I looked at the Good Jobs Challenge, I
Okay.
forwarded it, and I haven't gone back to it to really dig into it at all. So
Gotcha.
I don't really have anything to add right now, other than what I remember is when I saw it, thinking it looked like it had a community focus. And it could be something that would be a collaborative opportunity and fit within what we're trying to do with our strategic plan. So,
Yeah, so.
but I haven't gone back and looked at it again. I apologize.
Okay, gotcha. Well, thank you for forwarding that.
So I put together a sort of 1/2 pager because I'm wordy, and I put it into the meeting invite, or Jennifer helped me get it into the meeting invite. Just kind of talking about what the Good Jobs Challenge is. So as of right now, the Economic Development and Administration through the Federal Department of Commerce is allocating $500 million to collaborative skills training systems and programs as a way to strengthen partnerships and systems to help with employers who have hiring needs. So again, it's $500 million, and they're focusing on specific historically underserved populations in areas, communities, women of color, et cetera, facing a different labor market barrier. So the systems and partnerships, and including the council, or I guess the council could be considered one, are supposed to create and implement industry-led training programs, et cetera. And these systems will be designed to train workers, for skills and things. So they will fund proposals between 3 different phases. One being system development to help to establish and develop a regional workforce training system comprised of multiple sector partnerships. So of course, and then there's two other phases of this. So I put, again, in my one pager, I kind of identifies areas where these specific funds could start to get at some of the work that we want to do. So I guess just initially, these funds could help support the entire collaborative while also achieving the different activities within the strategic plan. I know one of the biggest things that we talk about in this group is how to bring more money into the system. Specifically, one of our activities has to do with how we collaborate for funding streams versus competing for them. So of course, this is another example of where we could use our collective impact to propose or to put in a proposal for these funds to help support the work that we want to do. And then again, I won't go through each of them, but I've outlined a big group of different activities that this fund could help support. I know outside of that, there's also been a conversation on how we support and how we create, a CRM system, or how we support that infrastructure. Again, these funds could help support something like that. So there's a lot of areas in which we could potentially use this funds. Chance put something in our chat and saying the industry-led industry-led is going to be a very important piece of this. So there's a webinar. I think Beth, you attended one yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't know if you have anything to add on that, but.
No, it wasn't yesterday. It's coming up on my calendar.
Oh.
It's either this afternoon or tomorrow. I mean, it's coming up in
Okay.
a couple days. Yeah.
Okay, and then there's also one that I'm attending. Oh, there was one yesterday at 2. So the next webinar, they do have another webinar that digs into the specific programs and the opportunity around the Good Jobs Challenge on August 12th at 2 p.m., which is a Thursday. So the link to all of this information about the Good Jobs Challenge is in the one-pager that is on the invite. So if you are interested in looking at where there may be some alignment with how we could potentially use those dollars, or any information that is actually on the Economic Development Administration's website, the link is all there. So I've tried to piece where there is some sort of alignment. So if you have any other questions, again, I'm going to attend the webinar to try to get some additional information. I know Chance Shannon here in our office is also looking at that challenge as well. So we'll have some additional internal conversations, but I guess that's all that I had on that, but I guess more to come.
Here,
Yeah,
I'm attending the August 12th event.
Okay.
I just registered for that one too. And it sounds like this would be a perfect thing to reach out to Cheryl Hay about. If it's training oriented and it's looking at system approach, then this would be a good thing to connect with some additional training partners on.
Yeah.
And
I
tap
will,
into their grant writing.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing, Shane. We want you, but really we want Shane to write the grant for us.
There we go.
So I will reach out to her today or tomorrow and catch up with her. I need to do that anyways.
Yeah. So strategy 1, which happens to be work group 1, which is also my work group that I'm a part of. I'll sort of, we can push this to work group 1 as one of our action items. Of course, I'll already be attending and doing additional research on it. So there happens to also, one of our strategies is partnering on training efforts and funding pursuits for continuity and sustainability. So of course, this is really sort of getting at that specific strategy potentially. So again, I'll do some additional research, and any additional information I will provide to the council. So thank you for sending that to me, Karen, or sending that to us to consider. The proposal, actually, we do have some time. The proposal is not due until January of 2022. So, and then they also have a bunch of information on who should apply. And one of them happens to be organizations like us. So.
But January is not that far away.
Yeah, I guess when I said that, I now realize that it's much closer than I was thinking. I guess we are in August now, so.
Right. Especially for something this is going to be complex. So
yeah,
want to jump on it pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I guess we can make this maybe sort of or maybe I'll sort of the default to the chair on the first work group, but maybe we can make this an action item for the first work group.
And remind me, who is the chair of the first?
Karen.
It's Karen.
Okay, perfect. So then that's already in your wheelhouse. And Ellen is chair of second, and Beth the chair of the third. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. So I do want to make sure, because we've talked about the opportunity with Columbus State and this Good Jobs Challenge. I'm glad to see both Karen and Kier and the workforce are already kind of plugged in. So it seems to fit very nicely with the work of work group number 1. So we can just continue to build on that and pursue these opportunities. I do want to distinguish then the charge of work group 2 so that we can distinguish kind of the activities. with work group 2, I definitely see here work around advocacy, advocating for the council priorities with government, local, state, and national. So it seems we want to do work group 2 more around some advocacy under activate shared programmatic priorities. So this is where I'm trying to draw maybe too fine a distinction, but I want us to have some clarity around it so everyone's clear about their charge. Work group 1 is leverage collaboration for client benefit. Work group 2 is activate shared programmatic priorities. So I just want to see how everyone else is kind of interpreting that. And as I look at the activities, I know that one of the things was to serve as a thought leader by convening an annual conference of stakeholders. I think we said we're not ready to start planning an annual conference just yet. That may be something that we're looking to do in 2023, but we could maybe get started in 2022. But then the advocacy piece with government officials, obviously, and then we had the deliver activities as a seamless system across the blueprint goals 3 and 4, based on evidence, building trust among clients and employers. So I just want to get people's perspective on how we distinguish those activities of work group 2 versus work group 1.
So, Bo, if I may, some of the activities, really the opportunity with Columbus State and the Good Jobs Challenge, in some regard, they could really fit in any of the work groups, because some of the activities that are unique to Strategy 2 have to do with expanding and support program partnering directly with employers to engage participants in skills training, or aligning and expanding financial aid for training, develop and investing in programs that provide long-term employment services. So like realistically, either of those opportunities can really be split up between 1 and 2. And then of course, subsequently affect work group 3 in the event that a CRM system comes into play. So in some regard, again, either one of these opportunities can be put in 1 or 2. At least I that's sort of my take.
That's my take as well, which is I want to make sure that, you know, we have some clarity around how we're going to move forward.
So would we differentiate 2 from 1 by saying it really involves engagement with infrastructure? So government policies, public organizations that also provide services, public transportation, all of those sort of, if you think about support beams to the work. So I don't know if that's me making that noise. Oh, my goodness.
I'm thinking for if we're thinking about opportunities like this Good Jobs Challenge, I see the role of the working group as that's going to be a lot of staff members from agencies really digging into the asset mapping. What are we doing in the community? How can we collaborate more effectively? How can we attract resources? Identifying opportunities will be part of that. But if we're looking at a particular opportunity like this one, that's not going to be, I think it will be, a working group can identify those kinds of things. If we really want to go after this, I don't think that's a working group thing. I think that's a council thing.
Yes.
And we need people we're going to need people who want to work with partners to really structure a proposal for this. That's going to go beyond the purview of the working group.
I agree, Karen.
So would you see that as potentially an ad hoc group?
Yeah, I would think
for specific opportunities? Lisa, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I think you're right, Karen, and that this maybe it's I guess for this specific opportunity, it is sort of an all hands on deck kind of thing. So maybe, I guess while Beth and some other folks, again, I'm attending the webinar on the 12th, so maybe we gather more information.
Yeah.
I'll get more information to the chairs, and we can have an additional conversation on how to proceed after that to see if we can actually progress. Because if it really, once we attend the webinar and if we determine that maybe this doesn't make sense for the council, then I guess maybe that's where it ends.
Well, the other thing I want to know is, and this is where how we do this establishes the whole point of, or one of the things we wanted to do is pulling this council together. So I want to be really careful, right? So I want to make sure that we listen to what they want, and if we feel this is worth the time for us working together. But I also know and have heard there are other ideas in the community for going after this same grant. And if any of you are part of that, and it makes sense what you're going to do, we also don't want to compete, right? We don't want to compete against each other. And so that means we have to have open, honest conversations about what the different proposals are and really what proposal will move the whole region the most. That's why, Bo, I just want to be careful, open and honest, so that if anybody is approached by some other organization or some other initiative in Franklin County, that we talk about it and make a decision together that, hey, maybe we should back off and this particular proposal is going to be more important. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It obviously thing doesn't fit into a nice, neat little box the way we'd like for it. But I'm even really just trying to focus on the way in which we've broken out the work of each work group. I want to have greater clarity around that, so everyone's clear about their charge and where there may be overlap, because as we said, you know, some of these things that we're talking about really could fall in one or two, and maybe a combination of both. And I'm not one to have meetings just to meet. So I have all these work group meetings and then have to have ad hoc meetings to drill down on certain things. If in fact it makes sense for work group 1 and 2 to have a joint meeting to discuss certain things and then figure out the different charges, that makes sense too. I just want to make sure that we're working efficiently. But I also hear that partnerships out there and different initiatives, things that we're a part of. And we want everyone to have a collaborative spirit, obviously, but there's going to be times where, you know, based on how we're positioned or the work that we do, that we're going to pursue opportunities and we may have other partners. And so certainly we support that. Everyone has to have a certain level of autonomy. But yeah, so this is something I think for us to maybe think through kind of the specific charge and how we're setting up these meetings and giving those charges to each of the work groups. So on this particular, because we have an August 12th, a seminar where we're going to get more information. Kier, do we know when the submission deadline is?
January of 2022.
January 2022, okay. All right.
well, I would say we want to make a decision as a group by the first week of September, whether this is something we want to go forward with, and maybe put out our feelers to see if anybody else out there is also going to submit a proposal, so we can make that decision with as much knowledge as we have, right?
Got you. Okay. So we're saying we want to gather information and by early September to make a decision whether to move forward as a collective here or decide, depending on what others are doing, whether we would defer.
Mhm.
I heard.
Yeah, I think we need to have a conversation after August 12th about what the opportunity is and, you know, what next steps we might want to take, if
I
any.
have to get an internal or I guess a steering committee meeting set for after that meeting or after the 12th anyway. So maybe I'll put together I guess just some of my findings, if you will, after the 12th, and then we can move forward.
Right, that sounds good.
But that's all that is on the agenda, Bo.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or announcements?
Just a question for Kira, I guess. Are these recordings available on SharePoint?
I can send that.
No, the recordings aren't, but we can, Jennifer, she said that she can send them out.
Okay.
But we can, I'll look into doing that if everyone is comfortable. I don't know. I'll talk with Jennifer.
Okay. It's just going back and revisiting some points would be helpful.
Right. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, everyone have a good day and saved you 8 minutes. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
good day, everyone.